Welcome to the Woodworkers video on how to install a casement sash. What you need to do first is make sure that the sashes are going to fit inside the frame. So first of all you need to measure the inside of the frame, then you need to measure the two sashes when they're put together. You need to allow for gaps between each sash and at the end, so the two sashes pushed together should be 9mm smaller than the inside width of the frame. Installing casement stays is a simple process, but they're installed slightly differently for a single window and a pair of sashes compared to three sashes all opening in the same direction. So today we'll show you how to do both different installs. So we open the stay. The side of the stay lines up with the edge of the sash, and the inside of the stay lines up with the face of the sash. The first thing we do is drill a pilot hole in the slotted area on the friction stay. The reason for doing this is if we need to make any adjustments down the track, we can actually move the friction stay slightly to one side. We've put the screws in to hold the friction stay in place. It lines up on the side and on the edge. What we need to do now is turn the sash over and do exactly the same to the other side. So now we've got the friction stays on either side of the sash, and we've also put a 6mm radius on the side of the sash here, which goes up beside the jamb. The reason for this is when you open the sash it would bind against the jamb if the pencil round wasn't there. What we need to do now is open up the friction stays and fit it inside the frame. Put the sash inside the frame, and we need to make sure that there's about 1.5 mm gap between the friction stay and the stop. If you have a steel rule, that's the perfect gap that you need. What George is doing now is going to drill a pilot hole, and then he'll put the screw in the pilot hole and fix the friction stay off. It's important to have that gap between the friction stay and the stop, because if you don't have the gap, the window will close straight up to the stop and the paint will actually bind on the window and the window will actually stick. So we've opened up the stays on the second sash. This is about to go in now. Again, we make sure that we have that little gap between the stay and the stop. We're going to close the sashes and check the gaps. The gap should be 3mm up each side and all the way around. So what George is going to do now is actually check that gap. He has a piece of aluminium or a stick or a spacer which is 3mm thick, which can help do the checking.
It's a bit tight.
So we can see at the top here that it's a little bit tight, so we need to make an adjustment. Once we've moved the stay, we check again for the gap. The gaps are now perfect, so what George will do is fully fit the friction stays through the locating hole. So now we've fitted the sashes and all the gaps we've seen are equal. You can see here why we put the 6mm radius on the sash, because once the sash is opened, if that radius wasn't there, it would bind on the side of the jamb. We can now close the window. We see the gaps are all equal. See, it's quite a simple process to fit friction stays onto a casement window. Okay, so we fitted a friction stay to a pair of windows, and it's exactly the same if you fit it to a single window. Basically what it is, if you have a sash which is up against the jamb, then the point of the friction stay needs to go up beside the edge of the sash and up beside the face of the sash. If you have sashes that are opening all in the same direction, such as this window here, then the second sash along and every other sash will have a rebate. What you need to do is have the friction stay start at the inside of the rebate and at the front edge of the sash. The Australian National Construction Code states that the windows cannot open more than 125mm in residential bedrooms and other applications. For more information on this, you should look up our FAQ sheet number 6, which is on our Woodworkers website. Woodworkers sells casement restrictor stays, which can be fitted to the existing stay or fitted between the stay and the edge of the sash, depending on the width of the sash. It's up to the installer to ensure that the opening is restricted to a maximum of 125mm. In most instances, you have to extend the existing stay rebate in order to create enough space to accommodate the restrictor. Woodworkers carry a wide range of casement hardware, from the traditional teardrop and spur catch, which are not key lockable, to the Woodworkers own branded key lockable products. Woodworkers own brand locks are all key lockable, and they come in black, white, silver and gold, and meet all the insurance requirements. Which product you use depends on cost, aesthetics and security. You can use either one of the products in most instances. Here we have a Woodworkers lockable casement lever handle with a face mounted strike. In this situation we have just one lockable casement lever handle at the bottom, but you could use the lockable casement bolt for extra security, put one at the bottom and one at the top. In this instance we'll show you where to locate the casement bolt. We can fit the bolt down the bottom, just near the opening stile, and most people would just fit the one bolt. For extra security you can actually fit the bolt at the top too. You use the same bolt, pull out the pin, turn it around, and it'll fit at the top like this. With the lever handle there's two different strike plates, and depending on how much space you have on the casement window, that decides which one you need to use. In this instance, if we put this strike down here, we can see this is where it needs to catch. The top of the plate is above the bottom rail, so there's not enough room. We could move to the center of the rail. Again, there's not enough room for this plate. So what we need to do is use a different type of strike plate. This is the second strike plate that comes in the pack. It has a slot inside it, which basically means it will fit up tight beside the timber. We can cut a slot in the timber and the tongue of the lock will go inside. So what George is doing now is measuring the inside of the casement window to find out where the center is. Marks the center, and this is where the center of the handle will be. So here we have it, the casement lever handle, the plate's been fitted, the slot inside the plate is on an angle, so when you close the lever handle, it pulls the window together tightly. And now we put the key in and lock it. Job done.